Hey guys, Elite Legionarii here, bringing you battle number 200 for Rome Total War. This will probably be the last Rome Total War, or regular Rome Total War, battle for an exceptionally long time. And the winner faction that I'm going to be using is Armenia. I'll be teaming up with King of Armenia, who was in the last fight. He is Carthage, and we're facing Paladinbob, who is the Scipii again, and we swap teams over. King of Armenia joined me, and Hannibal joined Paladin, and Hannibal will be in command of the Spqr Romans, or the Senate. So, as I said, this is number 200, and it will probably be the last Rome Total War battle for a long time, because Rome 2 is coming out in very soon, in the next few days, just about a week and a half, I guess. So that's what's going on there. So anyway, this was quite a good game, so I'm glad this was a good one for 200. So anyway, my army consists of 2 Peltists, no upgrades, that's my screen against Pila. I have 4 units of heavy spearmen. I think they've got 3 upgrades each. I don't expect them to obviously beat any of this Roman infantry, but what I know it can do is stall it, and this Peltist will take the Pila. I have, obviously my main power is 5 units of cataphracts. They were, I believe, silver gold or gold silver, I can't remember. 5 upgrades each, they are very powerful. I have 2 units of, I think it was also gold silver Armenian horse archers. Now, I'll explain to you what I've done here. I've gone into the Cantab circle and I'm getting him to shoot at me. King of Armenia's forces, he has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, he has 5 units of, I believe they are gold sacred band, so he's got extremely powerful infantry. He's got 3 units of gold sacred band cav, and 1 unit of gold round shield cav, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of gold tack, probably slingers. So, if you look at their force immediately, it's a pretty defensive setup, and they've gone with a very large arch auxiliary contingent. So that tells me that infantry is going to be probably lacking upgrades, because archer auxiliary are expensive. And it also tells me that they want to basically use archers at long range and play a more static defensive game. So basically, I bring my cavalry, my missile cav here, my horse archers, forward simply to shoot up and get him to waste his arrows. Now, as I've said in previous videos, archer auxiliary, Cretan archers, Pharaoh's guards, Forester warband, chosen archer warband, those longer range archer units field much less ammunition. Well, not much less, but they do have less ammunition. So I just wanted to waste his ammunition. So the best way to do this is to come into Cantabrian circle like this and just pick shots away at him. And as you can see, it is very effective though, because I've already knocked this unit down to 30 men in just a couple of shots, and this one's only lost about 10 men. This one has lost 2 or 3 men. So that's an extremely good trade-off. And even if I do lose these units, he will waste a lot of ammunition, and he's lost an entire unit there. So here, I'm sure it was under advice of Paladinbob, he goes into loose formation to try and capture me. This is fine. It doesn't really matter, because if he tires his Praetorian cav out and chases me around, that's fine as well. So I've already taken 1 out, so it's great. Now I haven't outlined the rest of their army. Hannibal has 1, 2, 3, 4 units of probably silver Praetorian cav, some good cav force there. He's got 2 units of silver triarii. That's Bob's unit. He's got 3 units of silver urban cohort. He had 3 units of 2 upgrades each archer auxilia. And going on to Paladin's force, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 archer auxilia with 2 to 3 upgrades each, I think. He has 1 unit urban cohort for his general with an upgrade, and he's got 1, 2, 3 units of 3 upgrades legionary cohorts. Now he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of auxilia with a couple upgrades each. Now, to be honest, I think that was probably a poor choice. It just depends though how good he is with them. In my opinion, particularly against my guys, cataphracts can just completely trash auxilia head on even, so it's not really worth it in my opinion, but we'll see. If he uses them in support well with his 2 units of gold Praetorian cavalry, they will present a threat. But if you want to choose a spear unit between the Roman spear units, go with Triarii. They are better. They're just better. They have more defensive upgrades. I think they're just a bit more expensive, but they are better. They can take more of a beating from a charge. But again, against cataphracts, they're not that effective, but they will turn a fight if you have your own infantry in support. The only exception is when you're in the woods. If you manage to draw enemy cavalry into the woods and then you set your auxiliary onto them, then they can beat them. But in the open like this, no, they won't, unless you're supporting with other units. Like if you've got Praetorian Cav and then auxiliary in against cataphracts, then yes, they can beat them then. But I can easily, now that doesn't mean that you won't not inflict much damage on them, and you wouldn't just want to randomly charge, spear infantry head on, but they're not that great. Against like lighter cavalry, sure, but heavy cavalry, particularly cataphracts, you'll be pretty ineffective. So anyway, that's enough of my waffling on that. I'm going to move my guys forward again. I'm just going to keep harassing them. Now they're trying to keep me out, obviously, just keep running me out with these Praetorian cavalry, but as you can see, he's already lost 5 men, and he cannot afford to lose cavalry to basically just to horse archers like this, because this cavalry is very important in stopping my cataphracts. It'd be in my opinion, I think Bob probably should have brought an extra unit of Praetorian cavalry over these these regular auxilia, but that would be my opinion. I think it'd be more productive, but we'll see how good he is with them. Already this unit has lost 10 men. I know it's only 10 men, but losing 10 men out of Praetorian cavalry, you're going to be up against cataphracts, is risky. However, they are faster than my cataphracts, so they need to work against my cataphract's strength. Obviously, my cataphracts are extremely deadly in a charge and against other cavalry, but they will tire very quickly. So that's what they need to try and get my guys to do, run them around, tire them out a bit, because that's how you can beat cataphracts down. But as you can see, I've had a lot of effect against Hannibal's archers here. This unit's down to half, well not half, but 50 now. And as you can see, what I was doing is I was going 2 different ways, so that no matter what angle one he chose to chase, one of the horse archers would be shooting these Praetorian cavalry in the flank. Now, I'm not going to inflict many casualties on these Praetorian cav, but even if it's just 1 or 2, it will make them much easier to rout if they get into a 1-for-1 with my cataphracts, which I was hoping to do. So he's steadily losing men here. He's down to 44, so that's taken him down from, a full unit is 54, so he's lost 10 men now in these Praetorian cav. And like I said, you don't want to lose too many men. As you can see, if he continues running around like this, he will tire them. And I know they're trying to exhaust my guys here, but I'm not that concerned because I'm still a light cavalry unit, so I'm going to be very quick. They'll have to exhaust me a lot to catch me, because I'm still a light cavalry type unit and they are heavy cavalry, so I will still be very quick. So that works to my advantage as well. And again, I could take another one out here, and he's just steadily losing men here. Now he's trying to trap me again. This is kind of smart though, because now I'm kind of stuck between, and I'm not in this circle formation, so I will take lots of damage from my archer auxilia there. But I'm pretty pleased really, because I've already destroyed 1.5 archer auxilia, and 11 men out of that Praetorian cav. I think the trade-off is well worth it. It's definitely been in my favour. So, keep a real tight eye on your skirmish units and just make sure they're always in the circle when you can. And also, you may notice I spread them quite far apart from one another. This was due basically because if they're right together and you start the Cantabrian circle, they'll start intersecting with one another, and it basically means that archer auxiliary or any archer unit will have a much higher chance of hitting them. So spread them apart so that doesn't happen. So this unit finally breaks. However, it's inflicted enormous casualties on them already, because you have to bear in mind that archer auxilia are expensive. They are about 500 even, or 4, I think about 500 unupgraded. So these guys have got a couple of upgrades, so these units are probably about 600 or so denarii for these archer auxilia. So it's taken a lot of upgrades away from their infantry that otherwise could have been more effective, particularly Paladinbob. If we look at some of these legionary cohorts, they've only got 3 upgrades, and those 3 upgrade legionary cohorts will not be a match for my cataphracts unless they are supported. As long as I don't go randomly charging in and take too many peeler from them, if I hit them from sides and encircle them, they'll be very easy to rout, even with when they've got, even with support, they will probably still struggle. But if they've got the right support, they should be right. Now the urban cohort will be a bit harder, but they only have 1 upgrade. However, Hannibal's got 3 of them. So that is the one area where Rome is infantry. It is tough, and it will still fight well, but against cataphracts or any heavy cav, particularly if it gets hit from more than one angle, it can be routed very quickly. And against, not that I really condone spamming Urban Cohort, I don't like the spam of Urban Cohort, I never have, and I've never really used it, except for when I first started the game. But if there is one area where you probably would want to spam Urban Cohort, is against a very large cataphract force, because as long as the cataphract avoids your peeler, they generally can actually put even Urban Cohort out of action. However, if that Urban Cohort's well covered and supported by Praetorian Cav, then the cataphracts will lose. So you do have to keep things like that in mind when you are using both Rome, and if you're using a cataphract-based force like myself. Now, with my ally here, King of Armenia, he's got a very reliable and strong infantry corps here. Now Sacred Band are not as strong as Urban Cohort, but these guys are gold, and these Urban Cohort are only silver. He's going to be facing, I don't know who of them he's going to face, but his infantry is definitely the best on the field because it's packing so many upgrades and he's got quite a lot of them. So as long as he doesn't take too many peeler, these Sacred Band are going to be a very good core infantry unit to hold at bay, and they'll do a lot of damage. Those Legionary Cohort are outclassed by Sacred Bands. The Urban Cohort with silver upgrades will probably be about even with those gold Sacred Bands, but there's more of those Sacred Bands, and like me, he's formed them in a continuous line with no gaps, and with those numbers, those Urban Cohort are not going to be able to beat them. So they do have a weakness there. I think they've put a lot into their archers, so they have to be sure they use them very well. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to outclass their infantry or cavalry. Now, these Praetorian cavalry will outclass the Sacred Band cavalry, but I'm going to be very much outclassing the Praetorian cav, my cataphracts. So what we decided on doing was pulling out onto the left flank. Now this was basically kind of, I know you'll be watching this Hannibal, and this isn't meant to sound mean, but we're going to exploit his inexperienced, he's more inexperienced, so going out onto his flank puts more pressure on him. And I know it's kind of a bit mean, I guess, but I'm sure he won't mind. It is tactics. And by exploiting him, it's going to be easier for us, basically. And it forces Paladinbob to move, and there's a lot of open areas around here for our cav. So anyway, he tries going after these slingers. The problem, however, is slingers are not really a very high value kill. As long as they're not getting flank shots, they're really not really any threat to you. So in a lot of ways, you would be better just ignoring them. So Hannibal's gone a very long way, and he's cut himself off from a lot of his support units. But what's going to work in his favour here is the fact that these Praetorian cav are faster than my cataphracts. But anyway, I get back into Cantab Circle here, and I'm going to carry this on. Here, Hannibal, I think he must have been trying to hit some of these slingers or something, because he comes too far forward. So we're moving out into the flank here, or we will in a moment. But as you can see, they're very intent on a defensive situation, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it does allow your opponent to seize a lot of the initiative, so you do have to keep that in mind. So I just ignore this Praetorian cav for now. I'll keep an eye on it. But there's a lot of very good open areas around here, and we put our cav on two sides, and because my cataphracts are far more better independently, they're great with support, but out of the two of our cav, I have a better show of it if I'm going independently. So the infantry is out here with the Sacred Band cav, which is weaker. It's not weak, but it's still weaker. It's the weakest heavy cavalry on the field at this stage, but it does pack more upgrades than the Praetorian cav, so it will probably be okay. So here I tried basically going around and basically kind of, encircling him, but the thing is, my cataphracts are not fast enough to catch him, and I have to be very careful. As you can see, these two cataphracts are already winded, so this is something I have to be very careful of, because as my cataphracts become exhausted, they will be very easily routed. So as you can see, as I said, they put a lot of money into their Archer Auxilia, but a lot of it has been very ineffective because it's been pretty nullified just by two of my horse archers. So it's going to cost them pretty bad later on. I think I'm not saying that archer auxilia aren't good to use, but you don't want to put, sometimes if you're up against some very strong factions, you don't want to put too much into them, because you will basically, you'll to be weak in a lot of other areas. The infantry and stuff have only got 3 or so upgrades each, so they're not going to be that difficult. So here I see an open shot at Hannibal Barca's flank here. So this unit's got 82 in it, and he hasn't seen this, and I'm going to get a really good charge into the flank here of this Praetorian urban cohort. However, I'm going to get kind of swamped here. Here comes Paladinbob with his guys. I bring another unit into support, but I'm doing pretty well here. It's going to allow me to do a lot of damage to this cavalry, and I'm just going to come out now. So it's just a quick strike, take out a few of his men. If we look at that unit urban cohort, it's down to 50, so I just killed 30 men in it. I only lost probably about 10 men in each cataphract unit, and I took out half that cav unit as well. So it was a pretty even trade-off. However, Paladinbob continues to chase me here, so I see this happening, and I did get quite a few of my guys there because I was backward, but now I'm going to encircle him and get rid of that Praetorian cav. Here, this Sacred Band's going to rush forward, and I'm just going to encircle this remaining Praetorian cavalry and get rid of it right now. So the cav is already toughened some pretty nasty blows already. So if we look over here, it was probably a bit of an even trade-off, but I did get rid of 30 of these urban cohorts and a cavalry unit, slightly perhaps in my favour, but I was trying to capitalise there. So we're bringing our infantry up, we're going to get them onto this flank. So it's going to be extremely aggressive here. Here I make a bit of a blunder actually, I didn't mean to do that. But I just pulled them out of time because I don't want them taking Pila. Now Hannibal's cavalry has gotten very separated, so now I'm going to again encircle it with my cataphracts, and this will allow me to get rid of it. So you want to be careful with stuff like this, because cataphracts will beat Praetorian cav like this in this sort of fight. So I very quickly get rid of that cav. And now that most of their cavalry is gone and we've still got so many of our cavalry left, they're in a lot of danger, because as I said before, the Sacred Band infantry is extremely well upgraded, so it's going to present an enormous threat. And I still have my infantry as well, which is not nearly as much of a threat, but with that sheer amount of infantry pinning down all their infantry, they're going to have nothing to stop our cavalry. So all they've really got now is a couple of one of Hannibal's and one of Paladin's cav really, and other than that, that's all they've got to stop our cav. And if you look at these Sacred Bands, they're still pretty much in full numbers. They are under archer fire here, so he needs to get them moving. But I've still got the majority of my cataphracts, so here I'm going to have another crack at this unit of urban cohorts. But I decide to pull out because there's a lot of archer auxilia fire coming in. I don't need that. So here I was thinking of doing a nice cav rush on that, but that's fine. I'm trying to basically separate Hannibal out here, tempting him into chasing me and splitting up, and look at this, ruining this line, so that when King of Armenia rushes in, the Pila will not be as big a threat. Over here, he gets a nice strike on some of these auxilia guys, and as you can see, they've not got a lot of cohesion in line. It's very jumbled and messed up, while we're nice and organised. Cavalry in the flanks, infantry in the front. So that's what we're trying to do here. So here's an auxilia unit. Now it's a legionary cohort rather. Now you watch what I'm talking about here with cavalry. Just one cavalry was able to cause enough damage. Now that I've got plenty of cavalry down, I instantly rout this legionary cohort. So that is why legionary cohort's very much outclassed. Now here's a unit of auxilia, the archer auxilia rather, and I was tempted to go after them, but there were urban cohort in support, and they'd probably hit me with Pila. Now the thing I think we're probably that my ally went wrong here is his line's a wee bit long, but it doesn't really matter, because these urban cohort are going to be very much outclassed in this fight against these Sacred Bands, because the upgrades are so much better on the Sacred Bands. Now Hannibal, if you listen to this, Hannibal, I noticed you spent a lot of time going after the slingers. Slingers are not really a valuable target for your cavalry, because your cavalry is getting isolated and singled out, and you're losing Praetorian cavalry to catch slingers, and slingers are nowhere near the value of Praetorian cavalry. So over here we see some of these auxiliary units. As you can see, they just get trashed by these units of cavalry. And that's mostly, and very few losses to us. That's because the reason they're so easy to kill for cavs is because their morale is not very high. So here we get some nice hammer and anvils into the flank here. He does rout one of the Sacred Bands over there because he got a good hammer and anvil, and I'll give Hannibal that. But here's some Pila. Now that was a bit of a concern. Didn't want to take unnecessary damage due to Pila. But we did manage to rout a lot of their core infantry. At this stage, a lot of their infantry is pinned down. So, it's very much pinned down, and there's no cohesion in their line. And we've kept cohesion in our line for most of the fight. So that's given us a significant advantage. So over here, As you can see, cavalry's roaming around. I was looking to try and squish some of these urban cohorts. So here come some round shield and sacred band cav, and I'll be coming back with my cavalry to give him support, although I don't think he's going to need it. Over here, I've encircled around behind some of Paladinbob's infantry units with my spearmen here, but the sacred band have easily got that, and I see these guys right behind, so I'm going to help my cataphracts that are here, trying to encircle them. So as you can see, just adding support to these fights, and the urban cohort getting pretty cleaned out. But they are their general's units, so they will take a bit of a beating. So I'm just going to run around a bit, try and chase my cataphract. As you can see, his auxiliary units there were chasing me. I could have stayed and fought them, but I think I'll take unnecessary casualties. I would easily beat them, but I'd still take some casualties which are not necessary. So over here, I've got the backwards glitch going on here, I think. Not to worry, I've got enough jam going on here to pin them, and I get my cataphracts in here and this route. So as you can see, look, these auxilia, they're not actually pinned on anything. Oh, they're archer auxilia, my bad. But even so, these auxilia here very quickly route. So over here, they also route. It's their morale, it's not very good. And that's what allows you to beat them. But if it's in the woods, it's a different story, because cavalry suffer a weakness against infantry in the woods. So using my infantry just to help King of Armenia pin units down. In the back here, here's a unit of Paladinbob's Praetorian cavalry. Now it's possibly going to have a slight advantage, it's got good numbers, and my guys are exhausted. Now as I'm exhausted, my guys will suffer much. This is how you want to beat cataphracts. As you can see, because I'm exhausted, one of them routes. This Praetorian cavalry is doing much better because I'm exhausted, so you want to exhaust cataphracts. However, I quickly get infantry in, so does King of Armenia, and we managed to rout their Praetorian cavalry as well. So
the enemy general flees like a
at this stage, it's pretty straightforward. Over here, there's no phalanx going on, but it doesn't really matter. I've got my peltasts in support as well. There goes Hannibal's general.
Smile upon you today. The enemy general has been killed.
And over here, all this Roman infantry is going to collapse as well. My cataphracts are still hanging around looking for kills. There's two of them over here. Here's another one over here. And I'm sure I had four of them. I don't know where the fourth one is though. I'm sure I had four of them. Well, I might only have three at this stage, but it doesn't really matter. So here I'm going to come in and help finish off the remainder of the Roman infantry. And that routes this unit of legionary cohorts, and this unit should go in a minute as well.
From the battle in terror.
Any moment now, it's wavering, it's distraught, and it's gone. Over here, we're just pinning down the remainder of these Praetorian cavalry. But the main thing here was their line became when we shifted, obliqued our line, shifted out onto Hannibal's right. They disorganized their line. Then when we pushed them at the centre, they didn't keep their cohesion. And once you lose cohesion, you can be very easily outplayed. But this was a really great game, and I felt it was really, really good for the final. Well, not necessarily the final, but probably the last one for a long time, because of course Rome 2 is going to be up in the videos now. So as you can see, that auxilia instantaneously routes from that charge. So I mean, that's just their morale. They are good at dealing with cavalry, but if they need higher morale, because the morale just breaks under a charge. So over here, Paladin's general unit is still going. There's his general there. And I believe these slings are getting nice flank shots on him. He's going to turn around. But anyway, as you can see, I've still got quite a few of my cataphracts left. Well, they are a bit depleted, but they've done a lot of damage. Still got pretty much full units of spearmen there. If we look at these sacred bands, there's still a lot of them. Like 3 full units there. So I think, it's not that they used a bad army, but here's my general. I think I accidentally ran through my own pikes then to kill my general. But
cause you're meant to turn and run.
But I was thinking, I think, to be honest, the fact that they brought so many auxilia took away upgrades from the Praetorian cav and the infantry units, and it made them very easy pickings for our cavalry. As I said, that Sacred Band infantry was a really strong core infantry unit that could ordinarily, urban cohort would definitely beat Sacred Band, but those Sacred Band had more upgrades and there were more of them, so it was pretty easy for them to hold that line. And once their cavalry were taken out, it was very easy to actually rout them. It wasn't that they fought badly or anything. I just don't think I think they put too much into their archers. I'm not saying that army they had couldn't work. It could work, but I think they put a little too much in their archers and sacrificed too much from their infantry and cavalry, which made it much easier for our infantry and cavalry to win the fights. So anyway, there's the stats. 930 for King of Armenia, so he gets the top kills again, but I'm pretty close behind with 872. They did come with some pretty high kills themselves though. Bob's only 200 or so behind me, so 608 for him and 500 for Hannibal, so some pretty good stuff really. So if you look at the stats, as you can see, my cataphracts got some fairly high kills. This one got 175, this one got 115, this one here got 47 and lost 48, so that one's really the only one that did any bad. 77 for the generals unit, 98 for this one. The horse archers, 103 and 82. They really did a lot of damage to those archer auxilia, and like I said, they put a lot of time into their archer auxilia, and they lost two of them, I think pretty much two of them before the main engagement even started, and that was a pretty costly toll for them. The heavy spearmen, like I said, wouldn't really get a lot of kills, except this one did pretty well. But other than that, they held up a lot of his legionnaires and were very easily outflanked and destroyed by cavalry units there. Even the pelters, this one got 28, that's pretty sweet for them. So, the idea is, basically in this video I'm trying to say is, certain builds can either be really effective or sometimes not the greatest choice. It's hard to know. Archer auxilia are not a bad archer unit, they're a good archer unit, but they are expensive. So this was only about 12.5k, I think it might even been less than that, I don't know, it wasn't a full 15k, so it took away from the Praetorian cav and some of the infantry units, and that was costly because they were pretty quick to rout those infantry units. As I said, cataphracts will very quickly rout Roman infantry, even urban cohort, as long as they don't take the Pila. If they take the Pila, there is a very high chance that they'll lose. So if you just come in it from angles and behind and stuff, the Roman infantry will rout very quickly. But if it's supported properly, the cataphracts will rout. So that's that. But anyway, this is the 200th video, and like I said, probably the last one for a long time, which is kind of sad because I still love this game. When we played this, I just thought to myself when I played this, this game is like 10 years old or 9 years old, and it's still so good. I still love this game. These two games, it was so good. You can play this game over and over and over again, and it's just so good. It just keeps itself going. There's so much variety, diversity, and it's different every time, and you play against so many different players, and you can build all these different builds, and you can do so many different things, and even after 9 years it's still got it. Even if Rome 2 thoroughly outclassed it, it's still been such a great game, and it's kept itself a great game right up until Rome 2's release, and it will always be a great game, and I will revisit this game in the future. There's no doubt in my mind I will. It's just at the moment, because Rome 2 is going to be out, it's going to be what I'm going to be making videos on. And this was the 200th, and I was just sort of thinking earlier, I really wanted to kind of do it with the Julii, because I started with the Julii, and the Julii is my favourite faction, but every time I tried using the Julii, I just didn't get a battle I thought was good enough to be 200. But Armenia is still an awesome faction, and I do love using it. But anyway, before I go, I'm just going to thank all you guys for your subscriptions and your comments and your views and stuff. It's extremely appreciated. I mean, you guys, viewing my videos is extreme. It means a lot, and I'm really thankful to it. Just to name a few, Unborn Assassin, you sent me the link for Fraps, got me started, and I never really thought I'd ever actually get anywhere with it, but thanks to you I had the means to do it, so thank you very much. And to Homag, I know you watch my channel, you've been watching my channel consecutively for months now, ever since you found it, and I am extremely grateful. I'm so glad you enjoy these videos. And of course Hannibal here, you've only sort of linked up with my stuff in the last sort of 20 odd videos, but you've been really great since then. There's others, there's Biscuits, I know you, I've played a few games against you, and you're always extremely supportive with your stuff, and there's so many others. Monolith, you helped me get started on Rome, and there's so many of you other guys, there's too many of you to name. But I know I've got about 154, 155 subscribers now and nearly 20,000 views. And I know that's nothing compared to some of the other bigger commentators, but it's still really great, Been at this for about a year now, and it's just been really great. So Thank you so much, guys, for your viewing and support and stuff. It was just brilliant, and I will see you next time we go to Rome. It'll be Rome 2, so hopefully I can learn that quickly. For now, until the end, I will do until Rome 2's release, I will do Medieval 2 to satisfy my medieval viewers, because I've got a lot of stuff in Medieval 2. But the next time you see Rome, it'll be Rome 2. So thank you very much, guys, for all your views, and thank you guys for playing this game. That was a great game. So I'll see you soon next time, guys.